With me now is Sir Robert Goodwill, Conservative Member of Parliament for Scarborough and Whitby, and the Chair of the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Select Committee. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Sir Robert. How do you think Rishi got on today? I thought he was rather good under fire. He's good with his detail. He wasn't flustered. But one thing that really caught my eye, particularly on the deportation and Rwanda situation, was a kind of link to potential other countries that might get involved aside from Rwanda. That's a very exciting prospect. Do you know anything about this? You can make us feel cheerful at Christmas.
Well, it certainly was an assured performance. In marked contrast, by the way, to the last time I asked a Prime Minister a question at the Liaison Committee, and Mr Johnson was gone in 24 hours. But, yeah, I mean, Rishi is across the detail. You know, he understands what's going on in government. I think that is reassuring to people watching it. And I think particularly on the Rwanda deal, he made it clear that some of those questioning him were making the point, well, how much per person going to Rwanda will it cost? Actually, it's about the disincentive for the others. So in the same way that we've seen with the Albanian scheme, that returning people to Albania has reduced the numbers coming from Albania. If we can get the Rwanda scheme running, I think many people will think twice before taking that dangerous journey across the Channel, escaping from what is a safe country, France. So I think that was and he sort of teases about other countries might be in negotiations, but he sort of rode back on that because I think he was either keeping his cards close to his chest or he's flying a kite, one of the two.
Well, there'll be a lot of people, Sir Robert, hopeful that there might be a bit more detail on that perhaps in the new year. We can wait for that one. Big news today, of course, is the perilous state of the crumbling NHS dentistry situation. 80% of patients turning, 80% of practices, turning patients away. Rishi Sunak was probed on that today, and he said the government has a new plan for this in 2024. That'll come as welcome news to many people struggling to get appointments, of course, again, due to soaring immigration.
Yeah, he did say actually that there'd been a 20% increase in the amount of dental activity taking place on the NHS, but certainly in my constituency it's pretty much impossible to get access to an NHS dentist if you're not already signed up. Of course, a lot of people are signed up and have been with the same dentist getting NHS treatment, but yeah, we do need a new contract. Dentists tell me that it doesn't really incentivise them to do NHS work, particularly when they get new patients who maybe haven't been to the dentist for 20 years and they've got a mouthful of trouble, and the way that they're reimbursed doesn't really pay them for that sort of treatment. So I think we do need a new contract, and we need to be able to ensure that people who can't afford NHS or afford private dentistry can get access to an NHS dentist, because it's important for a lot of other health issues as well that you've got a healthy mouth.
And Sir Robert, it's fair to say it's been a testing year for the Prime Minister. When isn't a testing year for a Prime Minister at the moment? Over the years, you've cross-examined a lot of them. How do you think Rishi's done this year? If you had to give him a kind of end-of-year report, what would you give him?
I would give him 9 out of 10, but then I'm a Conservative, so I'm a little bit biased. But, it's up to the people, I think, at the election next year to give their verdict. And to be honest, there's more than 20% of people still undecided. Keir Starmer doesn't excite people. He's no Tony Blair. But, of course, he's no Jeremy Corbyn either. So we do have our work cut out to persuade people, actually, that we are competent and able to take it forward. And my message would be to all my colleagues in the House of Commons is, just let's pull together, guys. Let's stop arguing amongst ourselves, because people want to see us unified. And actually, if we're going to get behind somebody, Rishi is a very good person to get behind. He's competent, he's assured. I'm proud to, serve under Rishi as our Prime Minister, as I know many of my colleagues are. And let's see what the new year brings. But certainly, it's still all to play for. I can remember in the '92 election when I was a candidate, they all assumed that, Neil Kinnock was a shoo-in. Actually, that didn't happen, because the British people looked very carefully at the choice. And at the moment, when people ask what they're going to do in polls, they say, if there was an election tomorrow, how would you vote? Well, they know there isn't going to be an election tomorrow. I think when we do actually get into the election, that will concentrate people's minds, and we can then look at the achievements, the way that we took us through the pandemic, the way that we help people with their fuel bills, and the way we're now moving forward in enabling us to try and stop the boat and get a handle on illegal migration, because Labour have voted against every single measure that we brought forward to try and sort out this immigration problem.
Well, there's a poll out today, Sir Robert, doesn't make the best of reading. 56% of people believe that Labour are the most likely choice of a government if there was an election in the next 6 months, versus only 25% think that your mob would win, and that's a low point since the final days of Liz Truss. All eyes, of course, will be on Rwanda in the new year. Rishi got that vote through finally, but now it faces another challenge. It faces more votes. It faces tinkering in the Lords. Are we likely to see Groundhog Day, the Brexit days revisited, would you say, where Rwanda is tinkered with by the House of Remainers, otherwise known as the House of Lords?
Well, I've got my own views on the House of Lords and the need for reform there, but ultimately the Commons is the chamber that has the elected members there, and I think the Lords should understand that we do represent the people, we do have a mandate, and actually, we have colleagues saying, well, we should toughen it up, some saying we're going too far. I think that would indicate we've pretty much got it right in terms of the way that we're bringing this forward. And of course, we do need to respect international law, otherwise the Rwandans, who are very touchy about this, wouldn't continue to go along with it. So I think the government's got it right, and I think we should support the bill. We should resist amendments that seek to change it fundamentally. And I'd like to get it on the statute book and then actually start returning or removing people to Rwanda for processing. And I think that will be a real disincentive to people to spend, serious money from their point of view, £5,000 or £6,000 to the people smugglers to get across the channel. That will break their business model, and I think ensure that we, in the same way that we've been successful with Rwanda, with Albania, in the same way that we've reduced the numbers by about 30% this year already, I think that will be a real game changer for us if we can get that to happen.
OK, so Robert Goodwill, Conservative Member of Parliament for Scarborough and Whitby. Thanks for joining us. I admire your optimism. Rishi will be hoping for a happier new year and maybe not tears in the new years to come. We've got to get that Rwanda vote through the House of Lords yet. It's going to be a huge challenge.